Hello, welcome back. I'm so excited for today. I think we're just going to have a lot of fun and a great show. I know that talking about the UFO UAP thing is upsetting to some people. I understand that. I think it's a great topic. Truly, I was really surprised that they decided to start releasing files because I thought it would never happen. So, we're going to have a great show. I've got Karl back for the part two, and he is waiting. And before we get started into all that, I want to do our opening. Unfortunately, Father Shawn is not able to be here. He has been gone for an extended period due to family medical issues. And he's really sorry he's not able to be with us. He really enjoys the show and misses it. So there's an apology from him. His wife is very, very ill. She has a surgery coming up in June and now another one coming up in July. And we do have a GoFundMe. And the link is already in the chat. And for anybody interested in finding it, on GoFundMe, it's called Join Sharon's Fight to Beat Cancer. His wife's name is Sharon Whittington. Father Shawn Whittington is a priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. You may know him from the television show Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists. That was on Travel Channel and now can be watched on Max and Discovery Plus. Father Shawn is also an author, and I'm his publisher. He has two really interesting books called God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, volumes 1 and 2. His books are a collection of his cases, basically. It's beyond anything that you could even imagine. I highly recommend this book. I do a lot of scary books. This book is one of the, both of these books are some of the, if not the scariest books I've ever done. And by reading these cases, he does tell you how he resolves them. Very interesting I know I'm going on and on. Very interesting collection of stories, including werewolf-type stories, gypsy carnivals, possessed people in old folks' homes. It's like completely crazy. Having said all of that, I'm his co-host Annette Munich. I have, of course, Karl Sup with me again for the part two. I do want to show a few things because I do talk about books before I get started. And here's some of our new books that are really doing well. Very proud of. Apex. Evolution Doesn't Need Flesh. That's James Baxter. A really well-written book. We just put it out last week. It's doing phenomenal. These are AI dinosaurs. It's just really an intense page turner and a great choice for a summer read on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. And another favorite that's doing very well, Miss Fox Teaches the ABCs. We're doing some really sweet children's books, and I absolutely love it. This book is already in 4 libraries in the upstate New York area. This is by Dennis Gager, and he is just finishing up another book that we are putting out in early June. Again, very happy about this. The Billy Rabbit Saves the Day book did well. This book has done very well. Back to basics, right? Children responding to it very nicely. And the next book is a detective book where the character that is the detective is Ricky Raccoon, and that's going to be cute. And with James Baxter, the next book is Event Atlantis. And that book has just a super cool cover, but I didn't have it handy to show. But I think that people will really love it. Great story. Um, Again, kind of fitting in with this UFO theme stuff because we're talking about things under the ocean, enormous things under the ocean. And that's also coming out and being talked about with the UFO stuff. Um, Let me see. Next week, I'll say it before I forget. Next week will be with Susan Ahern, and we'll have our Happy Medium Monthly the last Friday of the month. She will be here to do free readings, so join us for that. We would love to see you for that. And I'm going to bring Carl in. Carl.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming back. We got a great crowd assembling. We've got Michelle. We've got Heidi. Hey, girl, hey. I always say that for her. We got Linda. We got Infinite Joy. Honey's here. That is my cousin's daughter. God bless you, honey. Thank you for coming. I give her a heart too. So very nice group of people. We always have such a great chat room. Really.
Oh, always.
We always do. And they're really good with the comments and the questions and just very sweet people. And just to let you know that we appreciate you. We've got Honey saying, happy to be here. Happy to have you. I haven't seen you for a while. Very happy to have you. Heidi is driving to pick up her daughter and listening. She's usually on her way somewhere. She keeps herself busy. I don't know. So welcome to everyone. I'm going to kind of wait and see if Golden Cougar Wolf shows up before I try to put her picture. She sent me an email. If anybody wants to email me, contact Annette at annette.munich@gmail.com. That's not too hard, except nobody can spell my name. That's the hard part. It's a lot of N's. But
it's not like my name, which
right. Not like your name, my name. Like mine's just my name with a period in between at Gmail. And I really like getting your questions and comments. And also, you can find me on Facebook. I have a very small friends list on Facebook because I got hacked. I used to friend up everybody because I thought they were interested in books and radio because I was very naive. And then I found out, no, they don't give a crap about books or radio.
No.
Well, some do, some don't. But I mean, I friended up just about anybody. I didn't look at their profile. So I had a bunch of, I'm not going to say anything negative. I had people other than what I thought I had. Infinite Joy. I haven't watched you live for a while because it's late here in Europe and I am tired on Friday evenings. Well, we understand and we're so glad that you're here. I think she's in Ireland or Scotland. She's in the UK somewhere. I think. Where are you at, hon? She'll tell us in a minute. But, you know, it's really, really super nice when you can be here. We enjoy it. So we have a new batch of files that dropped today from the government, and that's been really cool.
Absolutely.
She said she's in Ireland. So that's really cool. And I don't know if you got a chance to look over any of what they put out, but like we said last week, they opened the door this much last week. Now it's a little bit more. And talking about us, we've actually shot at some of these UFOs and UAPs our military has. I did not know that. And also talking about that they are attracted to our nuclear facility. Oh, and before I get really into it, and I'm going to speak for you too, Carl. Whatever Carl and I say, it does not reflect the opinions of the station or Father Shawn. So, you know, this is just us talking. And laying it all out on the table and you make up your own mind. But these are our opinions. So did you see anything about that?
Yeah, I did. So I went out. So I was actually out of town on business this week. So I only got back a few hours ago. But on the airplane, I had an opportunity to spend 3 hours reading a bunch of stuff. But one of the some of the highlights that I saw, was that there was a report on these high-speed orbs that were in the U.S., and that was only from 2023. And that there was an incident where they were tracking these orbs, and they actually used a helicopter to get into that area, and they spotted it. And on thermal, I guess it was super hot, and it was hovering. But once they tried to engage or give chase to it, then the orb traveled 20 miles away at a speed that the helicopter could not even approach. I'll put it that way. So it, they ended up, obviously losing it pretty quickly. But another one of the other reports that dropped today was the metallic object that was, it was near the U.S. test site, and that was September 2023. It was larger than a drone, but it was obviously not a drone. But it was there was multiple witnesses corroborating that sighting, but it was described as a metallic gray linear and ovaloid object without wings or exhaust. And it said larger than the drone, but smaller than a Boeing 737. So if you can imagine, that range. But it had a super bright white light that displayed visible energy bands, and it hovered about 5,000 feet above the ground before drifting rapidly off to the east and the west and vanished entirely in about 5 to 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yep. And there was also some high-speed encounters in Greece, and that was infrared video that they released today, and it showed an encounter with U.S. military operations in Greece, and the object was tracked and recorded using multiple 90-degree turns at approximately 80 miles an hour, and the movements that obviously defy our conventional aircraft physics knowledge, right? But some of the interesting ones that I thought were the historical ones from the Apollo missions, and Buzz Aldrin at Apollo 11 actually reported seeing a quote unquote a fairly bright light source, which was tentatively ascribed to a possible laser in space. This is 1969, right? Additionally, Apollo 17 astronaut Jack Schmitt and mission transcripts reported that unusual flashes of light on the lunar surface, some of which were actually captured on camera. So, but flashes of light on the lunar surface, right? So that was, I thought that was very interesting, especially since I grew up with, watching the Apollo missions.
Yes. So. Very, very interesting. And I was so thrilled that they dropped some more today because, do you see me? Karl?
Yep, I see you.
Okay. Great that they dropped it today, and we have this new level of this to talk about because everybody's been talking about it and wondering what will be coming next, and there's all kinds of things all over the news and YouTube and whatnot, social media about what's coming up and what's going to be released. And I can see why they're doing it incrementally. I'm going to say something kind of like, I'm surprised at how many people still didn't believe in UFOs. I have been talking about this freely in the last couple of weeks, and that we're doing these shows And I mean, we've talked about UFOs on this show since the beginning. Um, and yet there's still some people that, and I really thought that when they said that they weren't sure if they were going to release to the public because people would freak out, I thought, no, nobody's going to freak out. This is so old news, it isn't even funny.
Yeah.
I mean, like very old news. Even to the point of, I don't know if you remember this one, but they had a UFO in Jerusalem over the Holy Land, and just tons and tons of people videoing this and talking about this. And, you know, it's kind of like that commercial, like, do you see me now? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
see
I
me
do.
now? And then all of a sudden, and it shoots straight up and it's gone in like not even a second.
Yep.
And still a lot of people that don't think it's real.
Well,
So,
and even if you look all the way back to the mid '50s, right, with Eisenhower in the office, right, and there was UFOs sighted over Washington D.C., you know, and that was captured on film, and just and you know thousands of witnesses, just like the Phoenix Lights, you know, in '97, and still people are like, well, no, I don't know about that, you know. And I think the reason why is because people just like to be, it's in a safe place, right? I know this much, and I'm just going to, whoops, I'm just going to, stay in my safe bubble, even if it's, maybe I'm, feigning some ignorance there, so it's, um, and it's, hey, Heidi, good to see you. But, and people do that, right? I mean, if you don't understand something, just like even when, Father Shawn goes out, right, and he battles, you know, uh, demons, really, it's, it is very, it's not a safe place for people to get a mindset in there, right? So they just kind of go, well, yeah, I'm not sure about that, or I don't believe that, or whatever, even though, he's relaying his accounts and stories, so it's the same thing. But now we're getting even some harder facts. So at some point, somebody's got to flip the switch and decide that that's their that's their new paradigm.
I don't want to go off on a thing, but I'm going to go. That means I'm about to do exactly that, is go off on a thing. Um, Years ago, when I was doing my show before I came here, I was referring cases to this minister out on the East Coast, and with a regular brick and mortar church and everything. And so anybody in that area, I'd refer to her. And then I found out way later she didn't even believe in demons. And I'm like, how could you be a minister and you don't believe in demons? It's in the Bible, like all over the place. But okay.
Yeah.
And I felt terrible because I'm sending people to her with very serious issues, not knowing that she doesn't even believe in it. What she's going to do is come to your house, look in your garbage can for a beer can. That's what she's going to do. That's no kidding, because that's what she told me. I found beer cans in the garbage can. Well, which came first, the chicken or the eggs? Maybe the maybe the beer is helping them cope with the fact that they live in a demon house. I don't know.
Exactly.
But again, I bring that up because that is selective belief.
Hmm.
I choose to believe in this part of the Bible, but not really this part.
Right.
That it's
Yeah.
not really true or real or
That,
whatever. And
that
yet,
other part makes me uncomfortable, so therefore I'll
right.
just ignore it. Hmm.
And someone like me would assume that, you're going to go in there and be able to handle a spiritual warfare situation, and you don't even believe it in the first place. I felt really bad about that. I sent a lot of people her way. I'm not saying she's a bad person or I hate her or condemn her or nothing like that. But had I known that she doesn't really believe in that, I wouldn't have sent her anybody.
Yeah. 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 I understand that. You
So
feel like it's
speaking,
there's other people that may be in more need, or yeah,
right.
exactly.
So now that could kind of take us to um, one of the biggest things that people are talking about is our aliens, demons.
Yeah. I I I I don't I'm not thinking that's the case, only because my and we're not going to go into demons, full full bore here, but you know, um, my experience is not, I don't think that they're piloting these craft. I think that there's, if they are, biological, they're biological entities from who knows, right? Interstellar space, or from maybe inner space. Who knows?
Or from the future.
Pilots are right, and I think maybe that'll be coming out in later drops of some of this material, or from the
Some of the
future. Yeah,
some of the stuff that
absolutely.
I heard that I thought sounded really plausible is that they're not from another planet, they're from the future, and they're related to us. They have the eyes, ears, arms, legs, all of that. And they're coming back to try to warn us of some of the decisions that we're making and that it could bring impending disaster. And I think that they're doing some experimentation with humans. And I think that they're coming here and getting resources. And I think if they wanted to do something bad to us, they could have done it a long time ago. I,
Oh,
I find
absolutely.
comfort in that. I find comfort in that if they really, so, and I'm a word girl being a book lady, so I like to get stuck on words, but I think that it's easy to call anything that you think is malevolent a demon, but maybe the word might be malevolent or demonic.
Yeah. Well, or things that you don't understand, just like if you,
Right.
rewind back to 1692, right? People didn't understand someone who might think differently, or spend their times out in the woods, whatever, and all of a sudden now you're burning witches at the stake, in Salem, right? So,
Sure. What we don't understand. And also, I'll make a point, and again, I'm not um, egotistical enough to think I know the answers to all this because surely I don't. But
right.
if demons don't really need spaceships, there's a point to be had there. They
Yeah.
do pretty good without them. So um, I think that also they've been talking about possibly four types of extraterrestrials, alien life, which they're saying you've got the little grays with the big eyes, and then you've got the very tall ones that look like Vikings,
Yep.
and I think they're Pleiadians, and then they have insect ones that look like praying mantis,
Yep.
and then they have the reptilians, which
Yep.
we've been hearing about reptilians for a long time, and the grays, the other two, not so much, but very interesting. But I grew up believing all this was real, and I'll say something that Honey in the chat room might understand. But my dad was born in Dayton, Ohio. My grandma's house was in Springfield. For my whole childhood, I heard people talking about it with ETs being at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is right there. And I've been there, and I've been to the museum. And I mean, you don't go there and see alien life or anything, but I'm telling you, my whole life. And people would talk about it just like they're talking about anything else. It's not like, "Ooh." It's like, the body's at right path. It's just like
Yeah.
matter of fact. I've
Yeah.
heard this my whole life about these aliens there. And not even like a maybe or we think that the
Right.
aliens at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yep. It's like, oh, they're
So,
there. No problem.
right, right. So, just from my upbringing, hearing that so much, I'm surprised, when people think that none of it is. I can understand if you're not sure and you're sorting out. Oh, we do live in times of low trust.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and just because I want to say the media wants to manipulate the narrative a lot, it having these raw documents come out is certainly um, a benefit to us, especially people who are critical thinkers. You know,
Yeah. Um, and I think like
but I was going
with
to say it was interesting. Go ahead.
you go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to jump into a different story, but you go ahead. Finish off your
Oh,
thought.
okay. Well, I was going to jump into a different story too. So now we're back to you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, fine. But I was going to say that I had my last sighting that I had of anything like this was in 2012 or 2013, somewhere in there. But it was I I was at my daughter's best friend's dad's 50th birthday party, and here he's got a rockabilly band outside, and there's probably 150 people out there, and up in the sky these orangish reddish orbs started appearing, and they were I want to say dancing around, like they would appear here, appear there, one would turn off, one would reappear a distance away, into a couple, and so forth. The best part about that one is actually I had my video camera there in order to thing, but you can even hear on the video camera some of the other attendees are like, "Hey, Doug, the aliens even came for your birthday," or something like that, and it was a joke, right?
Right.
But I'm sitting there going, okay, this is not behavior of any craft that I know, or multiple crafts. It was just like I said, I can't explain it, right? So certainly it falls under that UAP moniker, right?
Right.
So
And I said that a lot over the years too. Like when you say UFO or UAP, you're not saying I'm looking at a spaceship or an alien ship. You're saying I don't know what that is. That's what you're
exactly.
literally saying.
Yep.
You're not saying for sure it, but I mean there are some of them that kind of for sure. However, on the other side of that coin, and there are two sides to every coin, um, could the government have things that can do things that we don't really understand, and they could just hover in the sky and not make any sound and change directions on a dime and shoot off like in 1 second?
Yep.
Maybe. I'm sure there's some things that they have that we don't know what it is.
Yep.
I'm
But
sure.
and I think we have a lot of different crash crafts and recovered crafts that
Right.
and I know, I mean, we've absolutely have to have been reverse engineering those. I know that if you go back, there's a book called The Day After Roswell, and it was written by General Corso, and he was in charge of the reverse engineering program of craft that were collected at Roswell, and that very fascinating book. If you don't have a copy of that, I highly recommend that book. So.
Nice. Do you want to say it again for
Oh,
people?
sure. Sure. So it's called, the book is called The Day After Roswell, and the author is General Corso, Corso.
Nice. Something interesting that I was watching is called Awakening.
Okay.
Reality We Were Never Meant to See. It came out in 2026. It's got Nathaniel Gillis in it, who comes on our station quite a bit on Michelle's show, Michelle DeRoche, The Outer Realm, for anyone that wants to check her out. Really great interviews that she does over there Wednesday night, Thursday night. here on UPR Talk Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans, 105.3 Gulf Coast. But Nathaniel Gillis, and he's in there, and this is like a brand new documentary. And if anybody wants to check that out, I saw that for free on YouTube. And he also has, Nathaniel Gillis has a ghost background from his childhood. We've got Peter Lawless saying, I seen some unexplainable objects when he was 10 years old. Do you mean since you were 10 years old or when you were 10 years old only, Peter? Hi, Peter. Welcome. You're someone that I haven't seen you before. I'm glad to see you here. So we'll see what he says. But that's another thing, because back in the day, I know a lot of us that I had, and you are typical of this. If you've had multiple kinds of paranormal experiences, you had to pick one or you were crazy for sure. If you were going to talk about ghosts, you had to stick on the ghost road. Or if you were going to talk about UFOs, there you go, Bigfoot. But if you start saying you see everything, then, and that's the way it was back in the day, you would just lose your credibility. But a lot of us
Absolutely.
have had multiple.
In fact, it was. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. So I was going to say when I was in high school, I had a statistics class, or math class that had statistics in it, and one of the things. So I put together a poll, and of course it was on just lined paper that you'd distribute to your fellow classmates, but. And the poll was basically, do you believe in, and it was, and I had down UFOs, Bigfoot, I had ghosts, and I had Loch Ness Monster, right? And I'll never forget that, and I've mentioned this before, but it's like the very bottom percentage of the poll results, Bigfoot was the least believed. I thought that was funny, especially nowadays for me. But but ghosts were number one, and then UFOs, and then Loch Ness Monster actually came out in higher than Bigfoot. So it was kind of funny. But
I'm also like really intrigued by all the Mothman and cryptid stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think that in more recent years, we have Peter saying hi at the time, so he means he saw when he was 10. And we got Heidi popping back in the last couple of years, looking back on my high strangeness experiences. I like how she calls that. I like that turn of words, Heidi. High strangeness experiences. I now believe some were ET related. Yeah. Well, and she says here, I'm so intrigued with Mothman. But the way it's been turning, and we've talked about this before, is that a lot of these things may be just interdimensional. And the UFO UAP, that could also be interdimensional. Things just pop in and out of our dimension. And that would cover maybe Bigfoot, maybe cryptids, even ghost sightings. I don't think all of them, but some of them. I think that interdimensional is kind of closer to the truth than most things, theories.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. Well, and then I had an interesting experience, and it was actually before last week's show, but I had this dream, and I was still kind of trying to wrap my brain around it. But would you want me to talk about that dream I had?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So
he sent me a message about it, but I was kind of looking at it, and then I had to kind of.
That's fine. That's fine. But it was, and it's really funny. So I'm on ancestry.com, and I did the DNA and everything. And one of the traits basically says that you're unlikely to remember dreams, right? But throughout my life, I've the dreams that I do remember always have some kind of meaning or message. I'll wake up and it'll be detailed, or sometimes I have vivid dreams, right, where I've actually been there, where sometimes my clothes even smell like, and verified by others, not just some kind of hallucination by myself. They're like, why are your clothes musty? You were sleeping in the bedroom. I don't understand that. But yeah, so I had this really strange dream, that I was at, and it seemed like a science experiment, right? And I was in this room, with a bunch of other scientists, and all the walls were very smooth, but they were in a circular arrangement, right? And there were 12 panels in this, I'll say, a round room, right? But the scientists had equipment set up in front of panel 9, is what they kept calling it. And they were using acoustic devices, and they were focusing this variable sound hertz at the wall. And as they adjusted the frequency, in the experiment, the writing changed on the wall, just like if you were flipping the page of a book. It was,
Interesting.
and and in between, as they were, adjusting the frequency, the there was a mandala. I don't know if would appear. Different types of mandalas would appear and then fade out on the wall as they adjusted that, the audio frequency. But the composition of the wall was solid, but it also seemed to have like a liquid state, because the characters would change, and it was just really strange. But the whole focus was on panel 9, and like I said, as they adjusted that, they responded. But I was helping these scientists, and there was no aliens there or anything. It was all humans, right? But they wanted me to translate what was written on the walls, which was really strange, But I don't know. That was that was a very odd dream. But and then of course I came, on the show last week, and but it wasn't until I started thinking back on it, and I'm like, I need to really talk about that. So
That is very interesting. And the changeable quality of it is very interesting. Um, the mysteriousness of it is interesting.
yep, absolutely.
Symbolism is interesting.
But
That
yeah,
could be a whole book, Kyle,
oh,
if you ever figure out what they're trying to tell you. Because
oh,
I really
exactly.
think that some dreams are real, and I've had dreams that were real. I've had dreams that were deja vu dreams, and
Oh,
all kinds of stuff like that, and see um, deceased relatives. And I'm not just dreaming about them, they're telling me something. And it looks to me, doesn't mean like this is the way it looked to everybody, that there is like the edge of their body has a glimmer to it that almost can change color, and then they can be talking to me and look like they looked when they died, and they could look like they looked when they were a young person, a child, and they could keep showing themselves to me however they want. This sounds scary. It's not scary, it's kind of beautiful. It's
absolutely.
kind of beautiful.
Yep, I
So
agree.
we've got Heidi, same Carol, very vivid and feels like I actually lived it. I've had several in the ocean. Woke up and saw a bubble tunnel wrapped around me, blue water and bubbles rising. I tried touching it, and
And the next one,
part
there it is.
two, it wasn't there, obviously, but very detailed, and my senses felt and saw and smelled it. And then we've got Peter back, very interested as the the four objects moved in formation. October around 7 p.m. ish, very high speeds, and having direction changes at very high G. Yes, and they had some of the files today showing UFO UAP information at very high speed. So that is something that's been heard of before.
Yep, absolutely.
Heidi saying, I've also seen old antique signs on my wall and grids. So wild.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very wild.
Well, and it's really interesting too. Is some of these vivid dreams I've had where starting in 1987, I from 1987 until about 1996, I saw every single plane crash around the globe about 2 weeks prior to it happening.
Oh, Lord.
But I could never see the airline name like on the tail. So I
Yeah.
kind of became I want to say an expert in plane identification, where I'd say, oh, I know it was a 727 or it was a 747 or, and, um, and it was about 2 weeks before I had to take a business trip to Chicago. And I was really, um,
If
and
you
I
get
just
on an
chalked,
airplane.
yeah, I just chalked it up to maybe, uh, a flight anxiety or something like that. But then 2 weeks later, Flight 255 crashed in Detroit, and actually a good friend of mine was on that flight
Ooh.
and perished. But but after that, I saw it constantly until I saw the Sioux City airplane crash in '96, and some of the things that I saw in that. In fact, I woke up, I actually smelled like jet fuel. That was from that
Mm.
thing, and I didn't know where it was, but I recognized the type of plane. I saw there was a cornfield, and this plane just started tumbling, and that was the plane that lost its hydraulic uh, fluid power. There was damage anyway, but and after that, I said I want to stop, and of course, then 2001, 9/11 happens. I would have probably had that dream, but who would have believed me, right? At the time. But
Right. And that, first of all, that's crazy. I would think it's completely anxiety provoking. If I had to fly a lot and I saw planes crashing in my dreams, that would be the big no bueno. I'd be calling Amtrak. I'd be, and
yeah,
tell everybody you want to see the country from out the big window. But yeah, that's very scary. So you're seeing it, but you don't really know what airline or when it's going to happen, but you know that it is going to happen.
it was always, it wasn't like to the minute, 2 days or 2 weeks later, but it was approximately that time frame, but when I think back on those, it's like, okay, so we were talking about interdimensionality, and I was like, how how is that possible, right? Is it like string theory? Am I, is my conscious touching another conscious, and is it like some kind of quantum entanglement, or it's so anyway, I've that's always been thought process in the back
And
of my mind, trying to figure out exactly how or what happened with that. So
the time travel thing is very interesting, and they have talked about time not being linear and different um, periods of time exist all at once and then folds, and things can overlap, and it gets very, very interesting. And I sometimes I talk about the haunting at an old hotel called the Olivia in Joplin, Missouri. Well, really interesting is James Baxter, who wrote Apex and a lot of the books that I'm doing. He's a author. I told him the story, and he had me writing it on steno notebooks and taking pictures of it and sent it to him, and he crafted the story together. But I would say that the two takeaways from this experience that is based on me really being there and things that actually happened is first, when you start asking questions, you're not in control of how and when you get the answer. That's number
Yep.
one lesson. And the second lesson is I did ask a question, and a woman appeared to me in my dreams and she answered me. And I became full aware that she was living there just how she always had, in her unit the way she always had, that she was still back in her time and looked the same way. And just, so maybe sometimes the veil is thin and they can see us and we can see them. I
It's
don't really
possible.
know. But it is interesting that maybe people just go on in their own time, and kind of fascinating. But we got two hearts today. People are giving us hearts. If we give you a heart, will you give us a heart back? Because hearts are really great. We've got two, count 'em, two hearts. Very nice. Thank you. Um, I'm always looking at that. But it is interesting, And then when you think about time travel, people moving in and out of time, and then the aliens, perhaps they are coming from the future.
It
Perhaps they might need our planet for some resources.
and I think it's only if their craft can go 88 miles an hour. That's what I'm thinking.
And they're talking about, um, and this brings us to the Atlantis book that he's got me working on right now. It's done. They're talking about like enormous craft under the ocean.
I yeah, I would not doubt that. I mean, we know so little about the oceans as an entirety. I mean, you could hide an entire civilization down there
Right, right. Like
if you had the
Atlantis.
technology,
Where
So,
did it go?
right.
Atlantis.
Yeah.
And that's always been such a mysterious topic. And so when you think about something absolutely positively could be under the water and be bigger than a football field and faster than any kind of submarine that we have.
Yep.
Sure.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. Like I think we talked a little bit about last week, which if some of these underwater or unknown, unidentified submerged objects or USOs, or UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, if their propulsion system it bends gravity or alters gravity in a bubble, right? That we talked about, where the air just feels like it's sucked out from from the area. Maybe that that's a protective. It allows them to travel through different mediums, and who knows? Maybe time is one of those mediums as well. So
Absolutely. Heidi says, I always think of how little we know about the ocean and it covers how much of Earth. Yeah, that how much of the Earth is covered by ocean?
oh gosh, I off the top of my head I don't know, but it's the majority, obviously.
Right, because we can only go so far down.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then every now and then we do get to see mysterious creatures that they are able to see and photograph and whatnot. And a lot of them have a neon quality to them. Very, very odd looking things down there and very interesting. And maybe some Megs are down there still, prehistoric
You never
sharks.
know.
You never know. We don't
Who
know.
knows? Maybe even mosasaurs, right?
Right.
You-
So I think that they're headed towards talking about uh, alien and human hybrids. I think that's on the docket.
I,
Um,
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do document drops, pretty much every week or every other week.
right.
And but like I said, one of the documentaries I watched this year, I watched the documentary Age of Disclosure, which was just absolutely fantastic. And then also S4, the Bob Lazar story. So if you haven't seen either of those or one of them and you haven't seen the other, I encourage you. It's almost like it's very, very revealing is what I found. So
I saw the guy that made Age of Disclosure talking about that recently, and that looks super, super interesting. And I mean, it's very likely that we could go through all of the drops of files and information, and we still don't really know what to make of it. That sounds about right.
yeah,
But I think that there's quite a lot there. I thought that one day they were just going to say that it's real and it really happens, and that was what we were waiting for, is someone to say that it's real. But no, that's just the door cracking open a little bit. It's all extremely interesting, and I think the Stephen Greer stuff is really interesting.
yep. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
he's worth looking up if anybody's interested. I don't know. Well, don't recommend everything about. He was the one that made that uh, movie showing people how to call UFOs and stuff, wasn't it, Dr.
Yeah.
Stephen?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Annette doesn't think that's a good idea. Don't get your lawn chair and call UFOs. No, no,
Don't play that Carpenters song. Yeah.
no, 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 no. And apparently it works. Um,
Wow. Wow.
and I think that this is akin to, and I don't know everything about this, but akin to remote viewing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's almost what it felt like when I had that dream, was almost like I was remote viewing into this situation, with these panels. It was kind of, like I said, very strange. So,
Right. And then it's not remote viewing, but it could be remote um, UFO calling.
yeah, it could. I mean, I certainly wouldn't discount that, but
If they're like highly um, able to communicate on a psychic level,
yeah. And if you're sensitive, right, who knows?
right. For anybody in our chat room, I'm putting the link for Father Shawn's wife Sharon, her GoFundMe again, and letting everybody know it's appreciated more than you can imagine. Any kind of donation and your prayers,
Absolutely.
all of it very appreciated. I did not see Golden Cougar Wolf, and I waited for her, but now we're at 4:54, so I am going to show the picture. This is what she sent me. Um, it's kind of really interesting. I did see on some of the files things that looked a little bit like little flying clouds. This almost looks perhaps like a formation of the little uh, orbs that don't have a hard edge, perhaps. I wish she was here to see this. I
Yeah, I'd love to hear the description to go with, or what the
Yeah,
actual sighting was.
yeah. I sent her a reply email and I didn't hear back from her, but yeah, I would love to hear where this was taken, when it was taken, any other details, just like Carl's saying, it would be interesting to know. But I did get that sent to me, and we appreciate people sending in their stories, their pictures, or whatever. All very interesting, and we can show things sometimes and talk about it. And it's great if you're in the chat room and you can answer a question or two. We love that.
Oh,
So
always.
I think that we should do this again pretty soon.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe at the next drop.
Maybe at the next drop, and that
But
would
I
be.
I don't want to step on Susan because her show is
Well,
always
no, we
fantastic.
won't bump Susan, but let's see what's coming up and see what's coming out, and if I have a cancellation or something, we'll do it again
Sounds
because
good.
it's really interesting. It's the topic of the moment, and people enjoy it, and I enjoy it. Did you have a good time?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
I always do, Annette.
yeah, we have a good time. Now, Carol and I We don't even need you guys. We can talk and talk and talk because he is a super interesting person, very interesting person, lots of interesting stories, and also doing a beautiful job writing. And we'll be having some books coming up. Um,
Absolutely.
and also very excited. Heidi said, grateful for you both. And we're grateful for you, Heidi. You're awesome. Wait. I love your children's book, which actually has a Bigfoot in it.
It
And that's
does.
adorable. It's absolutely adorable. And that will be coming up soon. And we'll be promoting that when it happens. For everybody,
Yep.
please stay tuned for Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. And of course, we have so much gratitude to UPRN, um, 107.7 FM New Orleans, 105.3 FM Gulf Coast, Joe Montaldo, Michelle DeRoche, making all of this possible. We
Absolutely.
just have the best time, really great platform, absolutely wonderful. I highly recommend, we talked about Michelle earlier, highly recommend checking out some of the other shows on this network. If you like paranormal, supernatural, sometimes spiritual, there is so much being offered um, at our station and very easy to find online and find out what the lineup is. But Michelle's show in particular is very, very nice. And again, she is on Wednesday night and also Thursday night, The Outer Realm. So I think at 8 o'clock. I think both nights are 8 o'clock. One night by me might be 9 o'clock, but I am often in her chat room. I enjoy her show very, very much. So, and again, like I said, next week we've got Susan Ahern with free readings. So please come to the chat.
I'll be in the chat.
You'll be in the chat. If somebody wants to send me a question to give to her because they can't listen live and then they can listen to the replay later, if I have time to get to you, I will ask the question for you and see if we can get a reading. Heidi said, Michelle is amazing. It all started with Outer Realm for me. So grateful for her. Michelle is amazing.
She is.
And
Yep.
we've got have a great weekend with a heart. We wish everybody just the best night, the best holiday weekend. Thank you for being with us.
Yep.
We
Oh, and
appreciate
I wanted
it.
to give a quick shout out to all my friends in Alton, Illinois, where I was last night.
Nice.
So
Alton is the coolest place.
it is. It's very cool.
We could do a whole show about Alton.
Oh, there's without a doubt. I'm an honorary Altonite, I think. So
Well, what people don't know is originally he and I are both from Illinois.
yep,
We're not
absolutely.
there now,
Nope.
but of course, Alton is in the far southernmost part of the state. But it's, I don't want to say one of the most haunted hotspots in America, but I think I could say that and not be
It's
really challenged. It is just crazy the stories that come out of Alton. Okay, Heidi said,
awesome.
shout outs. She lived in West Chicago. Heidi, I knew that you were, one of us. We're at in
Well,
West Chicago, just like in the city on the west side. I'm a south side person. He's
I
an
was
Elmhurst person.
Elmhurst. Yeah.
Elmhurst. I'm south side like Beverly.
Yep. Well, and I know in Alton they've got at the end of June they've got the Haunted America conference that's going to be there, which looks
Is
pretty
that Troy
interesting.
Taylor?
I'm
Troy's
not
down
sure.
there now, I think. Troy Taylor. He used to do his conference in Decatur, Illinois. I've been there a few times by that haunted Lincoln Theater in Decatur. And then he went to Alton. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's Troy Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the organizer is, but it looks like it's going to be a fantastic event. So
And that's in what month?
That's the end of June. I think it's like the 25th to the 28th, I think.
Very, very cool. All right, we better get off here. It is
Yep.
okay. I can go over for a minute or two and I don't get in trouble. It's I found that out. Because sometimes if you're on the radio and you go over, they just pull the plug on you. It's over whether you're ready or not. Yep, when I was young, moved there when I was 6, and then to Burnsville, Minnesota when I was 9. Okay, very cool, Heidi.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got one more comment. I'm looking up Alton and the houses there look haunted. Yes, yes, absolutely. And some of the stories are just crazy. All right, everybody. Very thankful. Thank you for joining us. Really enjoyed it. Carol will do this again soon, I promise.
Sounds
And
great.
Stay tuned for Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right. Take care.